Back in 2019, I was working for the French taxi office in Toulouse. I, M36, was at the front desk for a busy day, full operated front desk 4, plus many other small cubicle for interviews, etc. As I was about to meet that entitled jerk, male Karen 50 to 60, I guess, a pregnant lady in her 7th month in the queue started to faint. She was, and baby too. Lucky enough, the people around her reacted fast enough to grab her and prevent her from hurting herself or the baby. She didn't want to annoy people by skipping the line, even if she had the right to. They pulled a chair for her and asked my colleagues and me for a glass of water. Now it happens sometimes that someone isn't feeling well or just needs some water. It wasn't one of those days. She soon properly and totally fainted and was out of it for good. We pulled her on the side so people wouldn't have to walk around her in case there was some wasn't careful, and started to place her in the PLS position. Don't know how to say it in English. Sorry. When you put the victim on her side so she don't swallow fluids, blood, vomit, and drown. I used my phone to call for help. 16 for health problems in France like the 911 in us. They accompanied me all along and said help was on its way. She kept coming up and fainting over and over. I had to get help for a passerby who spoke Arabic as she wasn't in a state to properly answer my questions. When out, she didn't react to pressure or pain. I'm not sadistic. It was under instruction to see if she had a reaction. Now, while all of that happened, male Karen was still at my station waiting for me to come back. I had only told him I had to check if the woman was fine or not, and never warned him how long it would take me. But as all of this happened in front of everyone, it wasn't hard to see I wouldn't be able to conduct his interview. The guy still felt entitled to have me come back to my chair and conduct it. Even in this stressful situation, I maintained my calm and politely answered that I couldn't come back and that any of my colleagues would be perfectly fine and happy to take charge. The guy berated me and demanded I let the woman to be taken care of by someone not from our office. As it happened in our offices, we were responsible. That guy pissed me so much, I pulled my most sadistic Heath Ledger Joker face, started rubbing my hands against each other. A gesture we don't do at scare people they think we will get off being sadists against them, and announced for the whole crowd, who heard the whole conversation. Don't worry, sir. Please wait at my desk. I promise you I will take good care of you. I swear I wanted to put an audit on his ass, but strangely, I couldn't find him anymore when the medics finished to take the lady away. Both the lady and baby were able to get home the following day after a night in observation. Child in stroller didn't notice mom went sick. Dad was able to leave work, get to our office, and leave with his family and the healthcare personnel. I and my mom, 19 fan 41F, had our weekly Saturday workout today and decided afterwards to go to the store. Walmart, where all the crazies go, to pick up some snacks and groceries. After we got there, though, we ran into our entitled family of the story, though more accurately, the entitled mother. Karen, 40s F, her 3 kids Jack, 15 me, Sabrina, or 13 fit, and Tommy, our 6'em, and last, but certainly not least, was their small dog, maybe a Papillon or something, ID. If you didn't know, most stores in the U.S. don't allow dogs inside unless they're a service animal. At this particular store, though, no one can actually come up and ask you if your dog is service animal, and they have to just let you go. The only rule they otherwise have is that the dogs aren't allowed in the baskets, the big part of the cart, since people put food there. This, of course, is where the problem starts. As me and my mom are leaving the meat section to go to the dairy section, we run into our first encounter with Karen and her family. Both of her older kids, Jack and Sabrina, are standing off to the side looking extremely embarrassed while their little brother Tommy is just standing there looking a little bit bored. Karen is standing there yelling at insulting an employee. The reason she was interacting with his employee in the first place was because her dog is sitting in the basket of the cart. Every time the employee tried to explain to Karen that dogs aren't allowed to sit in the basket of the cart, Karen kept biting back saying that her dog was a service animal. While all of this is happening, myself, my mom, and everyone else in the store is rubbernecking and staring at this woman. So many people were watching that there was a small traffic jam between the meat and dairy section of the store. Eventually, though, Karen lets up and puts her purse in the actual designated seating area on the cart for her dog to sit on. yelling at her kids to help her the entire time. But I wouldn't be writing this. This was the end of the story. By the time me and my mom are done with shopping, we have an entirely full cart, even needing an extra one for us to transfer the groceries into. And lo and behold, can you guess who was standing by the self-checkout? We see here Karen yelling at an employee demanding the manager because another employee was acting very disrespectfully to me. All three employees by the self-checkout ended up on the radio paging their manager. Let's call her Amanda, 30s F, and she showed to a huffing Karen. Now this is where it gets interesting, as Karen is standing there half screaming at the manager, telling her that your employee was very rude to me, and that your employee called me stupid, and other things that I didn't 100 hear that fell into the same category. All of this, of course, wasn't true. She was only referring to the incident by the meat and dairy department. And from what I had heard, the employee was just calmly trying to explain to her that she couldn't have her dog in the basket. That's it. No insults. No implying that the dog wasn't a service dog. Nothing. My mom even ended up telling me that after the woman left, that she would want to talk to the manager and explain what she had seen to make sure that the employee didn't get in trouble. Of course, this is not where the craziness ends. Since my mom was the one bagging all the groceries, I was eavesdropping to see if there was anything interesting that Karen said, and there was. Something that shocked me, to be honest. Karen tried to argue that the reason that her dog was in the store was because someone in her family was autistic and the dog was some form of therapy dog. Therapy dogs are also not allowed in the store, only trained service dogs. Now, I'm not going to say that I know everything about autism, but I have two younger brothers, 12 and 13, who are both pretty low, mid-functioning autistic, and I know even more kids with autism from different birthday parties and school board meetings I've been to. And I want to say that because I've never heard of an autism service dog until now. Autism service dogs are a real thing though, so it was almost willing to give her the benefit of the doubt until I actually paid attention to her kids. Again, not claiming I'm an expert on autism or anything, but none of her kids were acting in a way that would imply that any of them had autism. Both Jack and Sabrina, the two teenagers, looked incredibly embarrassed and scared as their mom talked, and both of them ended up hiding in their sweatshirts standing a few feet away from her. I also paid attention to the youngest boy, Tommy. The entire time Karen was yelling at the manager, Amanda, Tommy was off to the side fiddling with the pockets of his sweatshirt and walking around to the cart. And again, I don't know everything about autism, but from my brothers and the about 80 other autistic kids I've ever met, they would be freaking out in a situation like this. They won't just be standing off to the side twiddling their thumbs. They would probably honestly be upset and be trying to leave or having a complete meltdown or at least hiding behind their parent. Even ignoring that, if any of her kids were autistic, no one else was watching them. There was no father at the store, and none of the kids were paying attention to each other, and neither was their mother. Is there a possibility that we're higher functioning? Yes. But you don't come to the store with a dog that you claim is service animal without a leash, without a harness, without any form of service dog identification, yell at the staff because they ask you to take the dog out of the basket of the cart, and then demand a manager and lie about what the basket of the cart, and then demand a manager and lie about what the employee who talked to you said. Eventually, Karen and her posse stormed off into the women's clothes section, and my mom went to tell the manager what she had seen, and apparently many other people went up to talk to her too. I have no idea what else has happened with them, or if anything else will happen because of this. My mom intends to stay on Facebook to see if anything pops up there. As we were leaving, this though came to my head. I don't know if I came up with it or heard it somewhere, but I think it fits the bill here. Don't use a disability to substitute your own inability to be a good person. Even if her kids were disabled in some way, she didn't have any right to be such a horrible, entitled person to the staff. Papa, I'm sorry you have Parkinson's, but really I'm not. 3 years ago, when I said I'd be there for you, that does not mean you can continue being nasty to me. When the tables were turned and I was sick as a child, in surgery, or on medication, you were not there. But you made extra sure to remind me that you were paying for doctor's visits, antihistamines, surgery, etc. If what I'm saying is untrue, you would know how many surgeries I've been through, what each one of them was for, who the doctor was, what hospital, etc., things parents should know. At home, you'd shout at me for losing my asthma pump when I was 9 years old and choking for breath mid-attack. As a parent, I'm not sure why you didn't keep a spare on you. When we were in Australia, you snatched away my antihistamines while I sneezed and suffered through a horrible road trip that you forced me on despite my severe motion sickness. Sometimes you told me I needed to stop acting up, and other times I needed to be strong or I needed to get on with it. It didn't end there. I've witnessed you explode with anger at the smallest thing. It didn't matter that it's normal for children to drop things, spill food, make mistakes in their homework, etc. You needed to take out your frustration on someone. Children do not realize when an adult is mistreating them, so it was very convenient. Another thing you and Mom have in common, when I went to Edinburgh University and you bought a flat there, you made sure to be extra nasty when you visited me, because I needed to be reminded I was ungrateful and all my mistakes and imperfections needed to be brought out in the open. You wanted me to sleep on the pull-out bed in the guest room despite me living there alone. You wanted me to wash dishes in cold water and not turn on the boiler. You dug through all my things and let me know that you were angry, no furious, at the multiple flavors of tea or soap that I had. You left me in that freezing flat, angry that the electric bill was so high but didn't do anything to isolate the apartment or change the heating to gas. When you berated my intelligence, drowned my will to live, and brought me to tears, you felt you'd done your job as a parent. The sheer anxiety of having you visit made me move out. Always remember that for all the shit you give me, I always got an equal amount or more from your ex-wife who guilt-tripped me into crash diets, taking diabetes medication and multiple types of nutritional supplements because of my weight problem, which in addition to compounding the anxiety, gave me an irritable bowel. I deal with the effects of it to this day. You've never had much hand in raising me. I was raised by maids, tutors, and drivers and by Mom. They did the hard parts of it. To add the final touch, you ruined my PhD graduation. A moment that will never come back. All you could think of was yourself. Couldn't survive without a maid for 10 days. We hadn't seen each other for the entire pandemic over 3 years. You couldn't care less that I had to pack up my entire apartment and move to a different country in the space of a week, that I was exhausted from my exam, etc. You demanded that I serve you hourly, bring you chichi, arrange your pillows, and other ridiculous requests because the Parkinson's you've had for 3 years suddenly takes precedence over anything else going on in anyone's life despite having compromised dexterity but near full mobility. Did you ask your son to do all these things? Like you, just sat around, judging me. Did either of you even just do the bare minimum of leaving me in peace to pack? No. Both man-children decided to have a meltdown because I drew a line, get your own tea water pillows, I need to pack. Neither of you did a single thing that a half-decent father or a brother would do at a time like that. When you saw the disappointment on my face, you shed some crocodile tears, gave me a muttered sorry, and then promptly returned to your old ways the very next day. I also noticed you tried button to give a toast when my professors asked me to give one, when being awarded the degree. That moment, combined with the howl, crying in front of the entire department, encapsulates your parenting in a nutshell. Always there to take credit, but never sincerely there to support your daughter in the way she needs it. You're the reason I don't go anywhere near Indian men or their families. Your biggest compliment to a woman is that she's traditional because you think women exist to serve you. I've done what I could to try and repair our relationship. This includes trying to explain to you how hurt your behavior makes me feel, promising to pay for a therapist, offering to pay you back for university, even pretending things never happened, trying to just let them go once you met your new wife and you showed what I thought was a kinder side, only to realize that it's just an act. Even getting a PhD isn't enough reason for you to treat me with decency. When I told you how your demanding behavior during that time was hurting me, you then proceeded to ignore any kind of reconciliation I suggested, replying with one-sentence answers or the famed parents and children are not equal. All I've gotten for a lifetime of suffering with you is one lousy text with excuses about how hard your marriage was. You decided to marry and have children with her. You were not forced. And a staunch declaration that you have been a committed parent and that we didn't have to agree on everything. But when has any good thing you've given me, i.e., money come without a complimentary can of worms? Paid for a lavish birthday party for me and 100 people. Yes, because you neglect me at home when I'm trying to tell you I'm absolutely miserable in school and sick all the time. Paid for my medical bills. Shout at me at home for anything and everything, ignore me when I'm sick, and remind me every few weeks how ungrateful I am. Paid for university? Get your money's worth by being extra nasty, criticizing everything I do in the flat, and slut-shaming for me having a boyfriend. Something I noticed you did not do to my brother. And even if I worked hard, got a PhD, a top-notch job, you were there to support in public, but remind me of my places in private. Want to continue to live in the delusion that you were a great parent? Fine. Then it should be acceptable for me to treat you in your sick old age the same way you treated me as a sick child. When if your money runs out, I'll give you some money for a carer. If you're being mistreated in your nursing home, you need to tough it out. It's tough love. When you are choking or in pain or you shit yourself, I'll tell you to just get on with it. I'll throw in a nice birthday party and whoosh, I'm a committed daughter. A friend of mine owns a bar. He has 4 CCTV cameras. Only one of those cameras points to the bartending area where he can see the actions of his employees. I'm there having a drink. It's early, 5 p.m. and I'm the only one. When I see the employee go into the back room and then come out, something seems off. The guy's a bit strange. He asks me, so, you know Dean, the bar owner, pretty good? I go, yeah. I just helped Dean install a brand new CCTV system in the bar. I know this a lie because Dean and I installed those cameras together. Yeah, that's cool. How many cameras? 4? Yeah, and all of them are hot. This was a bit strange to me. I mean, why are we even talking about this? Then I noticed him slipping money from the register into his pocket, so I called him out on this. He says, dude, Dean makes plenty of cash. How about this? I'll give you $20 and we call it cool. I fire back, give me $40. All right. I then say, hey man, let me buy you a drink so we have a drink, and I congratulate him on his little scheme. I then say, gotta go out for a smoke, it's around 6 p.m. by then, and I call Dean up and say, Dean, your bartender is stealing cash from you. Your 5th CCTV camera caught him. I'm also pretty sure he turned off the other cameras. Dean thanks me then, tells me to keep him busy until he gets there. So I go back in and we start talking about random stuff. Dean then walks in with 2 lovely police officers, and Dean immediately says, get out from behind the bar. The cops are here to arrest you for theft. The bartender fired back, dude, I didn't steal. And you don't have any proof, to which Dean responded, you turned off the 4 sick TV cameras, but you don't know about my hidden one. The guy is told to sit put by one officer as another officer goes back and reviews the footage. It's clear as day this guy is stealing. The bartender then gets arrested and taken to the police car. Dean refused to take the $40 back from me, and I got my tab for free that night.